Formsy here. All right, so first of all, we're out on the balcony out here. It doesn't look that amazing right now, but when there's snow, it's beautiful sight. Anyway, we got the Roy Jones Jr. Mike Tyson exhibition match tonight. We got the Jake Paul Nate Robinson tonight. I want to get a couple of things out of the way right away. I don't know exactly how or why I got away from kind of doing these prediction videos. I definitely have not stopped watching boxing. I didn't stop training for boxing. I have stopped actually boxing. I had a lot of head injuries and stuff like that, but I still train, and I still love the sport. Now, more recently, like the past year or two, or maybe the past 2 years, I've gotten a little bit more out of being in the loop with everything, and that has to do with a combination of things. I have kids, I'm running businesses, and also like I used to have cable, and I used to either DVR everything or whatever the case was. So when I say I'm out of the loop, I'm not out of the loop as in I don't watch it, but I'm out of the loop as in I'm not paying as close attention, and I'm not always catching every fight live. But I do go like YouTube all the fights, and I watch them and shit like that. I have a list on my phone. Anytime that I do happen to miss something, I write it down and I watch it either the next day or the next month or whatever it happens to be. So I'm not out of the loop where I don't know what's going on. But I want to get back into doing these videos for a lot of reasons. Obviously, I love boxing. I have more of a following on YouTube now than I used to when I used to do these videos. So I'm gonna get back to doing these videos, and I definitely know I have a lot of people out there, a lot of friends out there and stuff. Mostly probably through Facebook that are definitely very into boxing. So I'm gonna get back into doing these. So let's start with these fights tonight. I'm going to start with the Jake Paul Nate Robinson fight, and I want to, for anybody that doesn't really know me very well, I want to get into really quick. A lot of people, oh, this is a joke, this is a YouTuber, this is a basketball player. I don't fucking care, bro. We right here, like, look, if these people came out on their balcony and started fighting right now, I'm definitely watching it, 100%. If two crackheads on the street fighting, I'm gonna stop and watch it. So, depending on what it is, I might break it up. If somebody's getting smashed or it looks like some stupid shit is going on, then I'm a little more peaceful now than I used to be. But I'll watch a fight with anybody, anywhere. Now, if it sucks, I might make fun of them, but I'm gonna still watch it. So, moving past that, I don't really know much about this dude, Jake Paul. I think I've seen him fight once, I want to say. I don't remember who it was. But I will say this. I thought the dude could fight. Now, if you've ever boxed, you understand that there's definitely a major difference between being able to fight and being able to box. I could fight. And I might be able to box better than your average street person, but I can't box. So, you put me in the ring with a boxer, and I'm going to probably lose most of the time, unless I can turn it into a fight. And anybody that boxes understands what I'm saying. So, he could fight. Dude Jake Paul could fight. So I don't want to take that away from him. I don't care what he does. I don't care if he works on fucking Wall Street. I don't care if he's a cop. I don't care if he's a YouTuber. That means absolutely nothing to me. He's a human being, and he's going to go stand in front of another human being with his hands up. He's going to try to knock him out, and the other dude's going to try to knock him out. And I'm interested in watching that, period. But like I said, that being said, the dude could fight. I don't know nothing about Nate Robinson, really. I seen Nate Robinson play basketball. I know Nate Robinson's obviously a tremendous athlete. If you play any professional sport, my hat's off to you. I don't give a shit what it is. I don't care if you're like a chess player, tennis, whatever the hell it is. If you are competing against the best people in the world, and you are one of the best people in the world at something, I have the utmost respect for the talent that you have. So, Nate Robinson's obviously a great athlete. Can Nate Robinson fight? I don't know. Can Nate Robinson box? I don't know. I never seen Nate Robinson fight or box. I've seen some of the shit talking that's been going on. And, not to like stereotype anything, but I lived in a bad neighborhood for a couple of years at one point. Like, I just don't really see somebody that's that athletic that maybe came up in a not great environment. Again, I don't know Nate Robinson's history. I'm just saying, I used to play basketball, and I suck at basketball, but I used to play basketball in the projects a lot with my friends that lived in the projects. So I can't really see somebody being that athletic and coming from an environment like that and really, like, not being able to fight at all, where he's going to go out there and look like a fucking fool. I don't think that that's going to be the case with Nate Robinson. I would expect him to at least, I mean, even if he gets knocked out, I would expect him to at least look decent in the process. Now, a little bit more about, like, the details on the fight. I saw the weigh-in. Jake Paul's obviously got the height and the reach, and he weighs, like, I think 8 or 9 pounds more. So I don't know what their weight scenario was with this fight as far as, like, a weight limit or whatever the case was, but I mean, 8 pounds is a decent amount of weight. Like, that's like something, you know, if you take like a light heavyweight at 175 or a super middleweight at 168, you know, that's a 7-pound difference. That's like having a guy, you know, one guy comes into the fight and weighs 175 and the other guy comes into the fight and weighs 169. It's like, you know, off the bat, I understand it's only 6 pounds, but the other guy is only 1 pound over the limit underneath that. So it's like, obviously that's a smaller dude that could have certainly gotten down to the weight class under that. So I don't know if there was a 190 limit or what the case was, but I do know that Nate Robinson is giving up 8 pounds. It could matter. If he can't fight or whatever the case is, then it might not really make, you know, much of a difference. But I don't know. I feel like there's, like, a little bit too many things going against Nate Robinson, like, just given the fact that I've never really seen Nate fight and shit like that. And I think Jake Paul could fight. I'm going to go with Jake Paul in this fight. But, again, take that prediction that I just gave you with a grain of salt, because I don't really know. I seen this dude Jake Paul fight once, and that's all I know of him. I never heard of him before that. And I never seen Nate Robinson. So take my prediction with a grain of salt, because I don't really know nothing about these guys. Now, moving on to Mike Tyson and Roy Jones, who obviously I know a great deal about. I have multiple times over seen every single one of both of these guys' professional fights multiple times over. I have watched slow motion film studies of Roy Jones and Mike Tyson over and over again. Mike Tyson was my favorite fighter growing up in the early and mid 90s and late 90s and shit like that. So I'm definitely very well informed on these guys. Now, Tyson been out of the ring for a long time, and I think he was like 250 at one point. He's back down to 220 now, which is closer to what he used to be when he used to fight. He was usually like 215, stuff like that. Maybe a little heavier a little later in his career. But Roy Jones never really, like, stopped fighting. Like, Roy Jones still had a fight just a couple of years ago, I believe. Now, some of them fights, he was fighting average dudes, and he would look great against, and it's like, yeah, well, it's Roy Jones fighting an average dude, and it's like, yeah, but you have a 48 or a 49-year-old guy fighting a 30-year-old guy, so it's got to make up for it somewhere. So it was still impressive that Roy was doing what he was doing at his age, and he definitely had, like, speed and stuff like that, but let's get one thing clear. Roy Jones cannot take a punch. That is just a fact. You know, much lighter fighters and much weaker punchers than Mike Tyson have put Roy Jones completely unconscious with one shot. So, you know, realistically, and I'm not saying that he will, but realistically, if Tyson lands a haymaker, Roy Jones is going to sleep. Now, that being said, I want to reiterate, like, I still, to this point right now, as excited as I am to watch this, and I don't think it's going to be great, but I'm still excited to watch it. I still, to this point, I hope it gets canceled. Like, I'd rather just watch the Jake Paul, Nate Robinson shit, and Roy Jones and Mike Tyson don't fight. Because I honestly think that there's a strong possibility that somebody gets, like, seriously hurt in this fight, and I definitely don't want to see that happen, especially not to either one of those two legends. So I hope that what I'm saying doesn't happen. But I'm just saying, I mean, realistically, if Mike lands a big shot, I have to assume that the fight's going to be over. Now, I just heard there's a no knockout clause, so that kind of like almost takes away Mike's chances for me. Roy Jones is lighter, Roy Jones is quicker. The video of Roy Jones running looked really, really bad. You have to understand that when you're a reflex fighter, your reflexes go quick. When you're a power puncher, your power does not go quick. Your ability to deliver that punch in the right fashion and land it in the right spot and throw it quickly and cover back up diminishes for sure, but if you land it, the power is still there. So it's a little hard for me to understand how a guy that is looking like he can't really bend his knees and is struggling to run and stuff like that, and is a reflex fighter, is now going to come out and run around and bounce around and not get punched by Mike Tyson. But when you put the no knockout clause in there, I mean, I don't think there's any judges or anything, right? So they're not going to announce a winner. So how does Tyson really win? Tyson has to knock Roy Jones out. And if there's a no knockout clause and Mike Tyson abides by the rules, then Mike Tyson is not going to win. Probably. Unless he just drops him every round. But I feel like, okay, then they're going to stop it. If Roy Jones goes down in the first and then Roy Jones goes down in the second, I mean, the guy's 50-something years old. You got to stop it, no? So, in my mind, at this point in time, the way that the rules are set up, Mike Tyson has to cheat to win. Because if it's a rule that Mike Tyson can't knock out Roy Jones Jr., I believe he's going to have to ignore the rules and just knock out Roy Jones Jr. to win. So, 2 weeks ago, my prediction was heavily Mike Tyson, to the point that I was willing to bet people. And even though I knew there was a chance that Tyson came out and treated this as a sparring match and got outboxed, I was still willing to bet money on it because I know that there could come a point in time Roy lands a clean shot and Tyson just says, fuck this, and goes for it. So I was still willing to bet on Tyson. But with Tyson's change in behavior over the past decade or so, and there actually being a no knockout clause now, I just can't justify putting money on somebody that I feel needs to get a knockout to win the fight and bet him to win. So at the end of the day, right now, if there's a no knockout clause in that fight, I have to go with Roy Jones. And I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that at all. Mike Tyson's my favorite fighter. But if we do have a scenario tonight where both guys are going light and it's a somewhat entertaining sparring match, which is another thing I watch. I go on YouTube and watch sparring matches all the time. They don't even need to be judges or a crowd or nothing. Like, I watch sparring matches all the time of people in training camps and shit like that. So I love that type of shit. So if it is that type of sparring match and it's competitive and nobody really gets hurt and Roy outboxes them and there's no judges, but at the end of the day everybody's like, Roy outboxes shit. I'm totally cool with that. But that's it. That's my final prediction. I'm going to just go, that there's a no knockout clause. Roy Jones is just going to throw jabs and combinations and stuff like that, and hopefully nobody gets too hurt and shit. So I'm going to take Jake Paul and Roy Jones. Peace out.